Do you remember Made in Abyss Season 1? It came out right around the time when isekai were really starting to overpopulate the medium, and everyone was starting to get tired of them. In that very same season, we had masterpieces such as In Another World with Your Smartphone, Knights and Magic, and Restaurant to Another World. Okay, I did hear that last one was pretty good, but you get my point. 3 isekai anime in a single season might seem like child's play compared to what it's like now, but it was definitely starting to wear thin at that time, and the good isekai from just the year prior, like ReZero or Konosuba, were fading farther and farther back in the minds of many. Because of that, Made in Abyss felt like a declaration that good, hard, imaginative fantasy can not only still exist in this world, but that it can still prosper. From the very first episode to the very end of the series, you were treated not to an overpowered protagonist or a copy-pasted NPC city, you were just treated to raw, unfiltered fantasy that engrosses you in a more compelling and fascinating fictional world in 12 episodes than some series can do in 4 times that length. But what I find interesting about Made in Abyss is that it wasn't a smash success with the release of its very first episode. For all intents and purposes, Made in Abyss didn't really start seeing that popularity until a little bit after it had finished airing, and then even more strongly during the upset of the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, where it actually managed to win the coveted Anime of the Year. At that time, it just felt so good to see the success of such an underdog series, something that was so original and so well done in its execution, just being appreciated by a larger audience. However, it was after that point when Made in Abyss went dormant. We knew that there would be a continuation of some kind, but it wasn't until 3 years later that people would finally have the opportunity to actually watch it. And during that time, through all of that waiting, through the recap movies, through the weird, vague marketing for the continuation that some people didn't even know existed, somewhere along that way, I felt like Made in Abyss had lost a part of that mainstream popularity that it had before. I can't tell you how many people I know recently who just didn't watch this long-awaited second season, either because they had no idea what was going on with the continuity and the mini-movies they released, or just that the wait in between was just so long that it killed a lot of anticipation and hype. I say all of this because I find it to be a really, really great shame that people who loved Season 1 of Made in Abyss have not continued forward in the story, because the Dawn of the Deep Soul movie and now Season 2 have only continued to prove more and more why this is one of the best modern fantasy experiences that you can find in anime.
I wanna know where the people are that take my dreams to a world of deception.
Made in Abyss as a story is something that I found to become increasingly focused as it continues on. Starting out, the story is very much trying to keep the ball rolling. It's moving you from location to location, from one layer of this abyss to the next layer, and gradually as you get further and further down, much like any strenuous activity, it starts taking longer and longer to continue further. Arcs get longer, layers have more complexity and storytelling throughout, and Season 2 of Made in Abyss takes this maybe the furthest it's ever gone in the story, where this entire 12-episode season is backdropped not by the Abyss, not by multiple layers of the Abyss, not even by a single layer. The bulk of this entire season takes place in one single location. And this is the first defining trait about this season, because one complaint that I've always had about that first season of Made in Abyss is that the setting was too interesting for its own good. This environment is endlessly fascinating and begging you to explore its secrets, and yet it often felt like the story was rushing you along these places without any time to really fully grasp everything that could be hiding in this compelling world. And yeah, you could say that's intentional, there are some things better left to the imagination, but the second season really embraces this one location, this one village of otherworldly creatures in a way that by the end of the season, this location, its culture, its inhabitants, its geography, the story of why this place even exists in the first place, all of it will stick with you in a way that a lot of the other locations in the series simply won't. And because of that very careful and methodical structure to how this one arc in this one location is laid out, it means that the story this season, which we will get into in a second, has mostly a lot more time to breathe and bring you into this setting and introduce this wide cast of new characters. All of those things being kind of very important if you want to actually feel things by the end of this season when the story of this location is finally concluded. And let's talk about that story now, because if there's one thing that I think keeps Made in Abyss in the culture, if there's one thing that keeps people talking about it, I don't actually think it's the world. The world is a beautiful, ingenious way of bringing you into the lives of these characters, but at the end of the day, what makes Made in Abyss what it is are the characters. When you think of Season 1, you think of Nanachi and Mitty's flashback, you think of Reg being put to his emotional limit, you think of the absolute bastard, Bon Drude. These characters stick with you, and coming off of the Dawn of the Deep Soul movie, something that I considered to be the previous peak of the series in terms of that storytelling and characterization, Season 2 might be even better. From the very beginning of the first episode, you are thrown into the midst of a completely new cast of characters, and over the season you gradually get context and development that explains who these characters are and what they're doing here. And it takes a lot of guts, in my opinion, to just sideline your main cast for a good chunk of an entire season just for the sake of spending time with new characters and starting from scratch fleshing these ones out. And yet, it paid off, man. These new characters are all excellent. Vueko, Faputa, Wazukion, these great, multifaceted characters that all end up having these tremendous character arcs and storylines woven throughout the journey that Rico's group has here. Now, I won't say that they're all perfectly executed or balanced out, which we will get into, but when you look at the overall goal of this season, if you just look at it as an author and you see the starting points for all of your characters and you see the ending points for all of your characters, I think this season does do a great job getting all of those characters to those points in a way that's emotionally satisfying. A big theme of this season in general is value and self-discovery, this idea that everyone is worth something to someone, but also that you have to discover your own worth yourself, and it's up to you to figure out what is pushing you forward and what longing is motivating you to dive deeper. And if you've seen the Dawn of the Deep Soul movie, hell, if you've seen Season 1, these are messages and themes that should be sounding very familiar, and they are just really natural extensions to the characters and stories that those parts of the series tackled as well. And this season may just be the best and most beautiful conveyance of those themes that have been explored so far. However, it's not all perfect when it comes to the story and pacing, because naturally in a 12-episode season, you can't just introduce a basket of new, deep, compelling characters, all of them with their own personal storylines and arcs, their own backstories and motivations, and also simultaneously try to give your returning cast their own storylines as well, because eventually, you're going to run out of time, and you're going to run out of real estate to execute on all of those things, and something is going to have to give. And there are two trade-offs for all of these things coexisting in this one season. One of them is not that big of a deal, but the other may just be the critical flaw that kept this series from becoming a masterpiece, in my opinion. The not so big deal is that Rico and Nanachi don't really have much to do in this arc. Rico is the catalyst for a few things that happen, but ultimately doesn't really influence much in the grand scheme of the story. And Nanachi is just practically non-existent, which is a shame because I do love Nanachi's character a lot, and she is a fan favorite. Both of them, in theory, do have little things that are going on that give them something to do in some of these episodes, but again, these things just really don't end up amounting to anything that contributes to the more important story going on in the foreground. And it makes you think that some of these things probably would have been better off just scrapped completely for the sake of giving more screen time to the stuff that actually mattered. This is very much more so focused on a story about Reg and these new characters like Faputa and Vueko, and to that end, I think the story succeeds more than enough to excuse characters like Rico and Nanachi being pushed to the sidelines, but that also leads me into my biggest issue with this season, the most prominent thing in my head that turned a fantastic season into just a great one. You see, like I mentioned before, this season focuses prominently on this new cast of characters, both where they've ended up and how they influence Rico's group of characters, but maybe even more importantly than that, there's a big emphasis put on these characters' backstories. Nearly a fourth of the season ends up being used to show the audience this backstory and how they all wound up here to begin with. I mean, they start the goddamn season with it, so you would think, with that level of focus and that kind of commitment to conveying these things, that this would be one of the strongest parts of the season. But I still don't think it was enough, and let me explain here. The backstory focuses on this group entering the Abyss and entering the 6th layer, and if you know Made in Abyss, you can probably guess that things start going wrong very quickly, and you're thrown into some really heavy drama that gives you an understanding of who these characters are. But the issue for me is that in this backstory, the focus is almost entirely on those things that are going wrong. It's a very conceptually driven narrative as far as, okay, one thing is happening, then the next thing is happening, then the next thing, then the next thing, then the next. And you might think, yeah, that's what a story is, idiot. But to complete a story, and more importantly to build these characters the way that I think the story intended to, you also need times when things aren't happening. You need scenes and moments that are purely character-driven and give you an understanding of what their relationships are. And I won't say they completely fail at that. You can get a general idea of the dynamics between most of the members here, but at the same time, this is the part of this season that feels the most underwritten and the most under-executed, in contrast to how important it is to the conclusions and endpoints for a lot of these characters. By the last act of this season, when everything is just reaching its climax and you start seeing all of these character arcs being paid off, some of the payoffs just don't hit as hard as they could have because you just didn't really get enough time or scenes to understand why they should hit or why they should impact. I think of this flashback with this group, and I think of all the opportunities they had to just slow the story down a bit and focus on characterizing them a bit more. I mean, they practically skip their entire journey of the Abyss just to get to the 6th layer. And yeah, that's more accurate to the manga, but this is also a series that created an entire anime original episode about the 3rd layer in season 1, just because the manga happened to skip past that quickly as well. The precedent is there, and you can tell even just from the opening that they had ideas to flesh out this backstory and give these characters time to breathe and grow that just never came to fruition. However, I don't want it to seem like I'm being too hard on the story, because for the most part, it does deliver emotionally in all of the ways that you would want it to. You will naturally be crying through a lot of these episodes, especially by the end. And if I could sum up my thoughts on this season in a way, I would say that everything here in this 2nd season, everything in this village arc that takes place, is Made in Abyss conceptually just in its purest, highest form. That means all of the good parts of Made in Abyss, the wonder, the imagination, the fantasy, the horror, the soul and heart of the storytelling and characters, all of that is intact. But it also means that all of the not so good parts are also intact in this season, which means if you don't like the storytelling and the themes being kind of abstract and vague, if you're one of those people who just hates the mangaka because he's a weirdo that puts all of his fetishes in his story, well, this season isn't exactly going to change your mind on those things. In fact, that stuff, much like the good stuff in this season, is also at its most prominent and excessive. But at the end of the day, I think that's all you can really ask for, man. Made in Abyss Season 2 truly does feel like you've never left from the series. Everything is exactly the way that it should be, just ratcheted up in a way that feels even more impactful. The art, the writing, our characters, the world and lore, mysteries that we've had since the beginning of the series start finally getting some meaningful answers and foreshadowing. everything is here. The only thing that I can say didn't impact me as much as it did previously would be the soundtrack. Now, goddamn, I can hear the pitchforks a million miles away. I want to make it clear that the soundtrack in this season is still great. It's still better than most anime that come out today, and there are some specific episodes that just absolutely floored me, much like season 1 and the movie did with how the soundtrack was utilized. But there are also more than a handful of episodes where I felt like the new soundtrack for this season was lacking. Now, I cannot stress enough here that it's not that the music itself is bad. I mean, if you listen to this soundtrack in a vacuum, it is absolutely tremendous and right on par with Kevin Penkin's standard of excellence for this series. But it's more about how that music is actually implemented within the story. There are tracks on this soundtrack that I don't even remember hearing in the series, because a lot of the time it felt like either the music was mixed in a way that just didn't let it stand out the way that it should have, or in some cases where the music choices just felt completely out of place for the scene that it was attached to, which actually ended up taking me out of the experience and the story, something that music should really never be doing. I do consider it more of a nitpick when you compare the shortcomings to its successes, but when you listen to how incredible this Season 2 soundtrack is on its own, and when you're coming off of two of the greatest anime soundtracks and implementations of those soundtracks ever conceived, it definitely sticks out more than you would think. But overall, man, I can give you any kind of reasoning I want about the good and the bad about this season of Made in Abyss. I mean, I have much deeper, more complex spoiler thoughts on my second channel in the episode-by-episode reviews, as well as even a special 2-hour discussion that I did with Fumincho and Mickle Pickle. All of the links are in the description, but it doesn't change the fact that it's just a damn good season, man. The story feels like it's at its most interesting and engaging right now, and by the end, once you reach that final episode and the end of this storyline, it just gives you this wonderful feeling of anticipation and excitement, where once the credits started rolling, I audibly said, I can't wait for what's next. Thank you all so much for watching. Join the Discord server linked below the like button if you want to talk to me and other people about this season of Made in Abyss, or if you just want a place to talk with people in general. It's a great community. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video.